The worst horror movie I ever saw was fucking great.
Hello and welcome to This May Hurt a Bit. My name is James Strayer and this is
John C. Myers.
And we are a horror franchise podcast discussing each film in popular and not so popular horror franchises. And today we are talking about Wishmaster 4, The Prophecy Fulfilled from 2002. So if the prophecy is fulfilled, this should do it for Wishmaster, correct? This
will wrap it up. Yeah.
This is the nail in the coffin. This is the sword in the back of the Djinn. This is the closing of the portal, I guess. Yep. And I don't want to be cynical right out of the gate, but I am going to be happy to put Wishmaster behind us and get beyond Wishmaster and move on to a new thing, because this one was a little bit rough, kind of like part 3.
Well, what the world needs now is Andrew Divoff more than ever. It just really makes you appreciate what we had with Andrew Divoff. And he's so great. And like, nothing against the people in this movie, but like the script isn't great. The production is part of that same like 16-day schedule or whatever. Like, it's just rushed and woof. Mm-hmm. But I will say, and I mentioned this to you in via text, that this movie is 10 times better than 3 by virtue of being 100 times worse. Because 3 was just so boring and just, but this really goes for it in some really dumb ways, and it's great.
Exactly.
For that. But
some of the effects look a little bit better than this one. And I kind of wonder if they were shooting these back to back, part 3 and part 4, if they were kind of leaning towards knowing that part 4 was going to be the big send off. They wanted to put a little bit more effort into that one and just run around with teenagers in part 3.
Yes. I think there's some more like big effects thing and granted the house thing at the end. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised that they didn't have more car crashes, I guess, considering like that the inciting incident for some of this stuff is a car crash that happens off screen. Whereas in the second one, they were like,
it is an off-screen car crash.
Here's the same car crash multiple times. Here's another car crash that's the exact same as the previous one.
Yep.
I was expecting more car crashes, I guess, but no, it is grander in scope in some ways, even though the story itself is even smaller than part 3. Like there's like 4 cast members, and that's about it,
that's true
as far as like main cast.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, the first thing that we miss is Andrew Divoff, and I'm sure we'll talk about it a ton in the wrap-up episode. But you watch something like the first Wishmaster, and you're like, oh, he's fun to watch. He is good. But then you watch people try to do what he does, and you realize just how cut above the rest he is for playing a B. Like, I don't want to call it a B movie necessarily, but this is a little bit more B movie level franchise, even though the first one had some production value behind it. But Wishmaster is pretty great, but he's never going to be a Freddy Krueger.
Right.
And it takes a special charm to be able to pull off a Freddy Krueger, as we know. But and it takes a special charm to pull off the Wishmaster that none of his successors had at all.
Michael, and I'm not sure if it's Truco or Trucco. I'm going to guess Truco because that sounds cooler. And it also lets me go like, oh, they put that True Code on at the factory. We have no control over that.
Oh.
But he's much more charismatic than your James Conner or Jason Connery. Or is it Justin Jimbo Connery? Like, because he's this like sleazy lawyer guy. And it took me a while because I was bothered me like why I recognize his face. He was Anders on Battlestar Galactica, and he was the Ned Flanders ass mayor on Midnight Mass. He's been in tons of other stuff, but that's mostly what I remember him from. Yeah. Oh. Well, and I say remember because I don't remember Battlestar Galactica. I just know he was on that show.
Sure.
But I do remember Midnight Mass. But so he kind of chews it up a little bit like Andrew Divoff, but he's no Andrew Divoff.
Yeah, I think that the character that he played on BSG was kind of a hotshot, handsome pilot guy. I could be wrong, but that's what I do remember. And he does have some charisma about him.
Oh, yeah.
He's just more of like a Playboy jock type of character than he is millennia old demon genie character.
Which is kind of a bummer because I do like that. While like thematically it makes sense in this that he's pretending to be someone, I guess. But I liked that the Wishmaster before was a separate thing. Like he's like, okay, I'm in a form of a guy, but it's not anyone that anyone knows. It's just the human form of the Wishmaster. yeah, this time it's in the past too. It's been like, I've got to disguise myself as someone else to try to trick her.
Yeah, because that's a good point, because both of these two human versions came from the Waker's life. Mm-hmm. Whereas that wasn't the case at all in the first movie. Mm-hmm. He just like stole the face off a random guy in a morgue.
And went, this will fit.
Yeah, that's interesting. Does it play a big deal? I don't know. I mean, I guess so in this case, because Lisa doesn't know like what's up with this creepo who wants to get after her the entire time.
And he is a creep. Because like he's in anytime she's on camera, he's going to show up. Like it got strange with that, because this takes such a strange turn I was not prepared for with the third wish.
Right. Yeah.
It gets. I was not like to give you an idea. It's very fitting that we're recording this around Valentine's Day, and on Valentine's Day, my partner and I we started watching the old Doris Day Rock Hudson movie Pillow Talk, and there's a plot beat in Pillow Talk that I'm like, oh, this is like Wishmaster 4, and then I got really sad because I'm thinking too much about Wishmaster 4.
Did you turn to them and say that?
I did, but it's funny because when I was mentioning that it was that. When I started watching this, I was like, this is weird. It's kind of like turning into like a romantic comedy. And it was my partner that actually pointed out, like, this is perfect for Valentine's Day. I was like, oh, crap.
Hazel's like, you got to stop watching so many Wishmaster films and stop podcasting if you're comparing Rock Hudson to Wishmaster.
Same guy.
Yep. So this movie opens up just like the last couple have, where it starts with the rules, the devils and the angels, and I always dig that. That's fine by me. Some good Catholic backstory. But
it still drives me nuts that, like, why don't you have the rights to Angus Scrimm's read? Because it was Angus Scrimm and it was great.
I know.
And if you just replayed it, you'd have no complaints. But I'm sure there are rights issues or whatever that have to pay him, and who wants to do that?
Absolutely. I don't know about you, but every time I see the Artisan logo, I just think of the Blair Witch Project, because I feel like that movie put Artisan on the map in 2000 or something like that. It just always pops into my head.
Artisan was kind of like the A24 of its day. And then like it did a lot of like varied stuff, but a lot of like the big cult movies of the time. It feels like, oh, Artisan. Oh, like, that always makes me think of pie, not the food. It's just like, oh, you know what? It makes you think of dessert.
Yeah.
No, but I think that was an Artisan one. But yeah, these sort of like 90s indie things.
I think so. So we're introduced to our new couple. They're walking into their new house that they just bought together, filming it, of course. They go right up to their top floor bedroom and immediately have a very long and awkward sex scene between the two of them. And I was honestly more impressed that their bedroom had a fireplace in it. And I kept like looking right past all the naked gyrating flesh. And I was like, oh man, I kind of want a fireplace.
He's looking at the fireplace, folks.
But that's the desires of a 40-year-old man. Cool bedroom with a fireplace in it. This
love scene was done with all the care and affection of a Danny Steinman. Like, it is.
Oh, man.
It is thrusty.
There is some thrusting.
Like, I was not.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, Wishmaster 4 coming out of the gate, like, strong. All right.
Right. Then he draws her against the fireplace, which, of course, is movie speak for I'm madly in love with you. I'm not much of a artist myself, but I've never drawn a partner of mine ever once. It only happens in the movies.
Yeah, well, the same thing with her filming, where I guess the idea is to show us that they're like young, creative people, which doesn't. I mean, none of this really matters for the rest of the plot or even like their characters. But it's an attempt to give them some kind of depth, I guess. But it was just there.
Yeah, I only put it together later on that I guess Sam is an artist of some sort, because he's eventually sculpting her in front of the fireplace later.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, does he do this for a job or is this a hobby? And then I think the Wikipedia does say like Sam is an artist. I'm like, you could have fooled me.
You don't see him do much other than sulk. And then, because he's in a wheelchair, and then get his legs back. And then he gets his legs back and is like, oh, I guess I can sculpt again, which doesn't make any sense. But I guess because he's found his muse is his legs, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. He sculpts with his feet. We see the two young lovers jump on the motorcycle and drive off and cut to immediately 3 years later. The first thing that they show is the weirdest front door ever. I don't know if you noticed that or not,
Thank
but there is
God.
not. It's not.
I was freaking out about this thing to the point of like, I had this like rewind because I was like, I'm not paying attention.
Yeah.
I'm too busy thinking about this door.
I don't know if this, I mean, it was filmed in Canada. So do Canadians have just two front doors? They don't have screen doors. It's just two giant wooden doors, like an airlock, but there's no space in between them.
It was so strange. So yeah, it's Lisa, our main character, Lisa, going to Stephen Verdell, who's her lawyer's house, because that's where you meet your lawyer, I guess. Mm-hmm. But yeah, his front door, she knocks the door and he opens the door, revealing another door, and then opens that door. And there are two double doors that, and there's no space in between. Like, and I was like, well, okay, so is it like a security thing where the back door like is just a key thing? Why is that on a house? No, it's just another door. It's like a screen door. It drove me nuts.
Yeah, exactly.
Canada, what's going on with your doors?
Canadian listeners, write in and let us know how many doors you have on your front door, and we'll decide if that's okay or not. Because I'm kind of leaning towards it's not okay.
And I'm glad I'm not alone in being just completely like obsessed with that.
Yeah. She asks for a glass of water from her lawyer, and her lawyer gives her the magic stone. It's the fire opal, but it's in a stone. And I do love his reasoning for where he found this, which was so funny. He's just like,
I found it on one of my all-night web surfing jags. It's nothing.
I guess, who among us has not been up late at night, maybe with a couple of whiskeys, ordering shit off eBay that they don't need?
Right.
Okay, fair enough. It's just kind of funny to hear that he got a mystical thousands-year-old amulet from some place off of online.
Yeah, but it's just what a just decline in where the Djinn comes from. It's like this was in. Yeah, he got trapped in this jewel, which it doesn't make any sense how this other guy was trapped in a jewel, because like there were specific instances that led to the Wishmaster being trapped in the jewel. This Djinn, who knows why, but he was in this like statue of a king that was like this antique, and this is like, no, I got it on eBay. much less interesting.
We're a long way from crushing Ted Raimi on a dock. We can't crush another Raimi. We've got to order this thing off of eBay.
He stubbed his toe on this. That was how I found it on eBay.
Yep. Then, Steven, he goes in for some kisses and just straight up says, you and Sam are at a crossroads. I just want to present myself as an option, which right out of the gate, this guy's a creep. I don't like it.
Because he's charming enough, but the thing is, like, you discover that he's their lawyer. He has gotten into a car accident, and eventually you find it was due to some like faulty brake thing in the bike. Like, it was a legitimate problem with the bike. There was apparently some corporate cover up, and he's really owed money. But the lawyer's like, hey, I know things aren't going great, and I'm going to try to get paid in smooches, which is why I invited you to my house. And it's not great. And I actually kind of like them together. Like they, since they're like decent enough actors. The lead, Tara Spencer-Nairn, ended up being on a popular Canadian sitcom, Corner Gas, that ran for a while. Whatever. They're young, attractive people. It's fine. But it did immediately, hackles went up because like, well, this guy already kind of sucks. But he doesn't suck nearly as much as Sam. Sam sucks. Yeah. Verdell gives her the box. She drops it when he goes in for the kiss, and the gem falls out. He's like, oh my gosh, tell you what, I'll go get this appraised. I'll tell you how much it's worth. Then puts it in his safe. And then inexplicably, but this rules, the gem just melts through the bottom of the safe.
Yes.
That was so dumb, but it made me very excited. Like, okay, they're going for something here. Like, this is cool. And that apparently frees, because I think she huffed on it, and that awoke the Wishmaster.
Yeah, I did. I got a piece of obsidian at a rock store on the coast this weekend. Totally blew on it, rubbed it against my shirt, and then immediately thought, oh God, be careful. I don't want to spend the next few days getting hassled by a Djinn, especially if it's not going to be Andrew Divoff. Yeah. If it's going to be one of these two guys, no thank you. But if it was Andrew Divoff, I would be maybe.
That's your first wish. I wish you were Andrew Divoff.
Yeah. We cut back to Lisa and Sam's home, and Sam's just pounding some vodka sitting there sulking. And this is where we first see that he's in a wheelchair. We are told in Backstory Database that he had a motorcycle accident, which I'm sure was a budgetary restriction. They just could not film a stuntman on a motorcycle. Fair enough.
They didn't even do the Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 of like put the motorcycle on the ground and have the guy be like, just sort of flop a little bit.
Oh, sure.
Couldn't even afford that.
Yeah. Or like a Neil Breen close up of a motorcycle tire just spinning and going, no.
Or like low shot, like shooting up towards the blue sky of people going, oh no, a motorcycle crash. That's also a classic Neil Breen.
Right. So Sam immediately out of the gate just implies that Lisa slept with the lawyer. I think he is literally just sitting there looking at sexy ladies online. He's just looking at like, it's not quite pornography, but he's just like looking at like models online, just like in front of Lisa with this sulky look.
It was internet porn in 2002, which is like every site looks like it's an ad from Flesh World. It was like really, really creepy looking, but it's also like Sam is upset because his legs don't work. And he believes that, and I don't know because it kind of makes it seem like maybe nothing works. I don't know, because he's upset because he and Lisa aren't having sex. He's like pissed and is pushing her away, but she's constantly like, I love you. This is why I'm here for you, is because I love you. He's like, yeah, whatever. He says,
love and trust are only words if you can't back them up.
With boners, apparently. Actions don't matter. But like he's looking at internet porn, and I don't know, is he mad that nothing's happening? Like, I don't know, but he's just constantly just sulking about the guy only cares about sex. That guy, by the way, Jason, played by Jason Thompson, he eventually was on both General Hospital and The Young and the Restless. And we're both on this podcast huge fans of Victor from The Young and the Restless. So
give me some Victor Thanksgiving speeches all day.
So this puts us one step closer to Victor. So I do have to cut him some slack in that regard.
There is seriously like shots where I feel like it's edited where he's literally just staring at internet porn and then just like moves his head just to like stare at her and just be like, you know what I'm looking at right here. He's terrible.
Angrily looking at porn at you. I love when he's looking at the porn online, how the camera's like, look at this porn site, and then zooms in on the butt of the naked lady. Yeah. It's like, you get it? That's a butt.
Yes. Yeah. So, now we've got the Djinn appearing to Stephen the lawyer and tries, as always, to goad him into making a wish.
I can grant you anything you desire, anything you can imagine.
Well, that sounds to me like an offer to settle, huh?
It is. Your soul for a wish.
I wish you would stop talking in riddles and tell me exactly what the hell it is you want.
Into clear communication. I can always dig that. The Djinn appears fully. This is kind of funny, though, because with him wishing to just tell me what you want, it's kind of like him wishing for the plot dump at the beginning of the movie.
Yes.
It's just like, we need a good exposition scene. I wish for exposition to bring everybody up to speed real quick. So he gives the proper exposition, and then he immediately cuts off his face, and then you go, damn it, this lawyer's our new Djinn. Just like the previous movie where you go, oh, God, now it's that professor.
Yeah, which is it's kind of strange. Like, what's the expectations for that? For the fourth movie.
Yeah.
If you're watching Wishmaster 4, are you expected to have some sort of idea? It's like Marvel movies that it requires you to have seen this television show and this Disney Plus, whatever. And maybe it's just because we watch them all together. Like I get what the Djinn's whole deal is, but I guess it's inviting in new people. Because technically it's not even Wishmaster 4. It's just Wishmaster, the prophecy fulfilled. But so he ends up taking his face because that's like the only thing he can do, and same kind of effect that turns to the other guy, and he still does the weird like neck cracking thing, like he's getting used to this new body. Like
I noticed that
still
too.
Drives me nuts. They didn't go as hard with it as they just did that one, and that's it.
In this bit of exposition, though, he does say, "Your identity will offer me easy access to the Waker." I was just like, "Thanks, movie," because I wasn't sure about that.
He immediately knows who woke him up. Whereas the first one was all like, who is this person? Yeah. I got to find this person. He's like, nah, all right, I know it's so-and-so. Which I feel like you could, I don't know. It's just, there's a lack of imagination with it just being pretending to be the guy. Technically it is easier, but I don't know. I kind of like that fun. How do these like separate people get together versus, no, I'm going to be the lawyer guy now. But it makes sense. So
then you get, the kind of the investigation, if you could call it that, or like the Terminator 1 quality of chasing after Linda Hamilton in the first Wishmaster.
Yeah, absolutely. So he starts just showing up constantly. Yeah. He goes to their house. Lisa gets out of the shower and Sam rolls by and she sees him and is like, oh, and covers herself. And he's like, oh man, you can't, that sucks.
Yeah.
And then she goes downstairs and is all like, oh, you know what? You're right. I'm wearing I'm wearing lingerie. How about it? And then the lawyer shows up and Sam is pissed that she even attempted to have sex with him, I guess. His anger, it's just, I was thinking of, there's a Paul Hogan movie, Crocodile Dundee, that one where he's an angel.
Oh, angels in the Outback.
No, it was almost an angel. And that actor whose name I can't pronounce correctly, Elias Koteas, if I'm saying that at all correctly, he was Casey Jones in the Ninja Turtles movie. He's a guy in a wheelchair and is pissed off about being in a wheelchair. So it's not like an uncommon character thing, but Sam is just so that's his sole character trait, is just being pissed off.
Yeah.
And it just gets so old. I'm not rooting for anyone in this movie currently. I don't.
No, not at all.
The lawyer shows up and is trying to goad Sam into making a wish. He's like, oh, I just was very inspired by something Lisa said, this case. Sam's like, fuck off. Laura's like, hey, why don't you and I go back to my office and to Lisa. Go back to my office and I've got some ideas of what to do with your case.
Steven starts giving a little passionate take on Caligula. And it's one of those dumb, I've been around for thousands of years. I actually knew the guy type of wink things.
He gets such a bad rap. All that rape and incest. That was me. You impressed?
Yep. Right. Coming around to me yet? She wishes that Steven could just get the other side to settle the case. I sort of liked this bit, even though it's really dumb.
But it was
dumb. Fun.
Yeah.
But he does call up the lawyer and gets him to pull out his own tongue and then cut your nose to spite your face. All that stuff is pretty fun, actually.
Yeah, it's just it makes no sense for what the Wishmaster's whole thing is. It's again this happened in part 3 too, where it's this just seems unnecessarily cruel. But all she said is just settle the case. But he's like, I gotcha. I'll just torture and murder this guy. That'll get it done.
Yeah,
because he says all these things because he sends him this thing for $10 million. It just appears on his desk. That's going to be what the settlement is for. Yeah. The lawyer is pissed. He's like, well, hold your tongue a second. And so the guy just holds his tongue and then rips it out. And what's great is that he's in this glass-walled office and there are people outside. And when they starts noticing what's going on, they just start pounding on the window. He's got a door. I'm sure, right. But they just are somehow confused.
With very little aggression too.
Yeah.
These are some brain extras
here.
It
was just beautiful. This concept of it was like a bird where it's well, there's something here. I can't get through. It's clear, but it's solid. Yeah. How do I get through this? He just gives a bunch of puns and the guy ends up killing himself, but not before he signs the settlement and faxes it over, which I'm no lawyer. And I do know that I think you need the client's signature on that. The lawyer can't just be like, here's $10 million. Goodbye.
Yeah.
But whatever. It was fine.
This is a tiny thing, but I thought it was pretty goofy. But they kept using cutaway shots in the edit of a close-up on this early 2000 mouse.
Yes.
It was the trackball stuff at the time. And I just immediately went back to I had to use one of those when I used to work at this old record label here in Portland. And for some stupid reason, I just associated dropping burrito crumbs on that little trackball the entire time at my lunch break.
It made me want one so bad. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's just...
I used to dig those.
It's this big... because it's the early 2000s, it's brightly colored plastic. The trackball, which is what used to be what the mouse would sort of move around on, is on the top. And in fact, comes out. So he's pondering an orb and then puts it down and uses it to move the computer. And it's sort of it's a weird thing to focus on. But here in 2023... I'm like, hell yeah, let's bring that back. That thing rules.
Well, that, and also I'm sure that they just got to set, looked at that, and they were like, oh, that looks like a cool mystical ball thing. We need to get a couple of shots of that.
Yeah, that was probably top of the line in 2002.
Yeah.
But that scene is pretty great. It doesn't make a lick of sense, but man, it kind of fun. it gave me hope for the movie that like, okay, you are having fun with this. You're getting back to being a little bit campier and a little bit sillier rather than like the seriousness that 3 really attempted.
Sam assumes that Lisa is going to leave him and will take part of the settlement. Steven once again just shows up at the house, I think, and just like practically demands to take the lucky couple out for dinner. I was impressed with when they wanted to use the full Djinn makeup.
Yes.
And they just used the shot of the Djinn in full makeup in Steven's apartment, literally just talking on a telephone, which looked so incredibly goofy. But I was like, why did you make the choice to apply all the Djinn makeup for this bit instead of just as easily having like Steven the actor walk around?
Yeah. I like the idea that like that guy had to sit through like 2 hours of makeup for that one shot.
Just
and
to
that
do
was it.
That. Yeah. So surprise, surprise, Sam is super petulant, doesn't want to go out for dinner. Steven and Lisa go to get dinner, and Lisa wishes over dinner that Sam could walk again. And that's 2 wishes.
So while I appreciate the Wishmaster put some stank on that wish, like that, like it's extremely painful for Sam to get his legs back in use. And the Andrew Divoff Wishmaster, the real Djinn, would have been like, gotcha. And like make him like walk off a bridge or like walk into traffic or something. It's just, like you just said you wanted him to walk again. And it lacked that kind of that panache that the Divoff one has, but also love this bit in they're like at an Indian restaurant and there's a belly dancer that like comes up to their table and starts dancing and that's intercut with Sam getting his legs back. Yes. And then there's like a couple that's so at the restaurant that's like apparently so moved by the belly dancer, they start making out. And this waitress is like, wish someone would kiss me like that. And as she's walking back, the Djinn kind of like, you got it. As she's walking back, all these people just start kissing her. She doesn't die from kissing or anything. It's just, it felt like it was like, hey, it's like a Kickstarter stretch goal or something like that. Like, producers, you're going to kiss this actress. Like, it was just very strange, but it made me laugh that he just bothered to do that. And then that was it. There was no comeuppance to it. It was just wish this Djinn likes smooching. That's it.
Yep. Is this the only wish that is fulfilled with with not a death attached to it? Because I was like, oh God, how's she going to get kissed to death?
Yeah.
And,
well, I mean,
that's got nothing on later, but
I mean, technically in 2, the guy whose face changes into his rivals.
That's it.
Right. But this was like, you could argue other than being sexually assaulted. But like, she honestly like she doesn't seem bothered by any of this.
She seems into it. That's my read. Yeah.
So that's the true hero of the Wishmaster series is she got a wish and boom. It's all fine.
Escaped unscathed.
She goes back home and like sees Sam in the darkness. He's like, oh my gosh, look at this. My legs work. And she's stunned by that. And then, guess who shows up? The lawyer.
Again. Jesus.
It's been 5 seconds since he's been on the screen. He's like, oh, you forgot your dessert. And there's this really clumsy bit of dialogue where he's like,
normally I'd say I wish you were there, but that would be a lie. Obviously, you've been busy here with something much more important.
There is some really stellar, terrible dialogue in this, particularly when the Wishmaster and Sam really start fighting.
So Lisa is now talking to her friend at this like sexy clothing store that they work at together called 1001 Arabian Nights.
It's just 1001 Nights, but it is a reference to 1001 Arabian Nights. This is where like the original like Djinn story comes from. So it's actually like pays attention to the origins of the Djinn more than I suppose other movies did. But
she does tell her friend that Sam can walk again, and her friend says,
I've got to do his chart. I'll bet anything Mercury went retrograde and passed through his 4th house.
Now, I don't know a ton about astrology. I barely know people's signs at all. But even I know that Mercury in retrograde has nothing to do with people walking at all.
Yeah.
So it's just like, that's just like one of the most commonly known, like stupid, like assumptions when something's going wrong communication wise, it's Mercury in retrograde. Everybody knows that.
Yeah. Not he can walk again or like.
Yeah. What about his mojo is exactly what is the next pressing question. give you one guess who shows up at the shop.
It could be anyone. I have no possible idea. Ooh.
Yeah, I wish it was Steven. And yes, he shows up looking really Ben Affleck here.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Invites her over to his place because he just cannot leave her alone.
Yeah. And what I love is that, well, two things. At 1001 Arabian Nights, there's a scene where you're introduced to not only this coworker, Tracy, but you also get the other wacky, funny coworker who, if you replace that character with like an 85-year-old vaudevillian, you would change none of the lines. They're exactly the same.
Oh, nice.
Because like there's like this woman that comes out wearing like these tiny like boxer brief things and this like tube top.
Do you think this makes me look too fat? Only in the right places, right?
Yeah, and she has all kinds of cut-ups later and is very much a wacky neighbor. Awful stuff. Just terrible.
Dialogue that is very much written by a man between these three women.
So even though Sam's legs are back, he's still pissed. Like, it's still not having it. And one of my favorite exchanges about this is when she's like, okay, well, your legs are working and you should go see a doctor. Because he's like, all I can feel is my legs. And what I'm feeling is pain. So we should go see a doctor. I can't go see a doctor. You know why? Because my legs hurt. Like, none of that makes any sense, but okay, fine.
No.
So they're still, he's even madder now that his legs work. Which also makes her say,
I didn't fall in love with your legs, Sam.
Good stuff. Just good stuff.
Gosh.
But so, there's still fractures. She goes over to the lawyer's house and he's now the Wishmaster's house. He starts, laying on thick game. And at one point tells her,
you wished for this lawsuit to be settled, and it was. You wished for Sam to walk again, and he did. And had you wished for the past, Sam might not be out where he is tonight. But you didn't. Because I think that the future holds your destiny.
Yeah, that's how destinies work. That's generally
how futures and destinies work. Yeah.
You aren't destined to have done something, whatever. Like, it's so, just quality script stuff. But that inspires her to make her third wish. We actually get the third wish in this one. Doesn't really make sense, but she wishes that she could love the lawyer, love him for who he really is. He gets the sense like, oh my God, she just made the third wish.
Yeah.
It's like, you have to get out of here right now, he tells her. I'm like, wait, what? Yep. She just made the third wish. What happens? Now it's starting to get kind of awesome because she leaves. This wall of flame appears and these other djinns start showing up.
I love this.
I'm like, okay, we're getting some monsters. This is pretty great.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, third wish is made. Let's do it. We're ready to go. And he's like, well, hold up. She wants to love me for who I really am. Right now, I'm the Wishmaster. How do I make that work? And it's like the dudes are like, I don't care. Just make it happen.
Yeah.
He's like, well, technically that's not. Yeah, it's not really love if she's not loving me as the Wishmaster. Like, I don't care, man. Like you've never played Fast and Loose with the rules before. Just let's go. We're standing in fire. Yes. This sucks.
Yeah. I love the way these three guys look. There's something very strange about, like, they have far less distinct facial features than the primary djinn, and they look legitimately just kind of strange.
Yeah.
I want to believe that that's on purpose, not like that the mask mold like kind of screwed up somehow.
Well, I think by like kind of distorting it behind kind of like wavy flame stuff and weird helps too. Cause I think like on its, when you see them a little bit later, it might just look like, a Spirit Halloween mask, but it's presented in enough of a way that you're like, okay, you are the most human looking djinn. What the hell are these guys about?
Right.
It does add a level there that I like, but at the same time, now this movie becomes a romantic comedy. Like, I married a Wishmaster.
Yeah.
So that was an element that I was not prepared for. But they also dropped this super huge important plot point that the third wish has been made, which means the hunter has awoken.
Yes. Yeah.
And they just throw it out like of course. Well, the hunter. Yes, this is the thing that the fourth one
that always shows up.
That has been established. It's Adrian Paul from the Highlander TV show, basically.
That's absolutely what I wrote in my notes, too. It was just like this dork who wants to be Adrian Paul.
Yeah, it's just some dude. There's like a statue of an angel somewhere, and it like transmogrifies into some dipshit in a trench coat.
Yeah.
Who, of course, has to talk like this because that means he's an angel. But I was like, okay, cool. Like, he's got a sword already right to go. Okay, you're getting weird with it. This is not anything that had to do with a Wishmaster before. It seems much more like fantasy than horror.
Yes, definitely.
Whatever. Okay, things are happening now. And like the fact that you actually like had someone make the third wish, that's a cool change. I like that.
And it's a wish that she has to grant.
Right.
Because she has to come around to decide that. And maybe it's a little sloppy, but I was like, okay, movie, that's a little clever.
Yeah.
I'll kind of give you that one. Because how do you get out of that?
Yeah, but the execution might not have been 100%, but like, I like what you're doing here. I like this. This is a different take on it. And I appreciate you giving that a shot.
John, did we just both start liking Wishmaster Part 4?
We like that part of Wishmaster Part 4 because there's so much else around it. That is the fire opal in this box of garbage that we bought online. Yeah.
Cut to the friend from the store. Tracy is in the bath. Steven shows up at the door. This guy just always shows up where women don't want him to be around.
Yeah.
It's just
yeah.
Hey, John, what would you call him, a Djinn-cel?
Nice.
I might call him a Djinn-cel. Boom.
I would say it's representation matters, and it's nice to see myself on the screen.
There you go. You can relate to him. So he acts like he has feelings for Lisa, or maybe he does have feelings. Maybe the Wishmaster is starting to develop, human feelings. Is the Wishmaster falling in love? Perhaps. Holding it a little bit close to the chest. He starts asking, like, how do I woo her and all that? And she just says, again, because the primary idea in this entire movie is sex. It is, we are dealing with a woman who hasn't made love in 3 years.
After what she's been through, if I was Lisa, I'd wish for some killer sex.
Killer sex?
Killer sex, Steve. Pushing it past your comfort zone.
Sounds like you're talking about pain.
Whatever. Pleasure, pain. It's all goes through the same nerve center anyway, right?
Seems to me like you know what you're talking about.
Not with the men I've been dating. I wish I was having some killer sex.
Which means she levitates and then orgasms to death.
I'll have what she's having.
There you go.
It's very clumsily explored, but again, this is the thing that I like as a concept. And I like the idea that the Wishmaster's like, okay, I just know how to give people what they want. I've never had to really think about it. How do I make someone like me?
Yeah.
Neat idea, like bad execution. Because he just goes to her house being like, how do I get this person to like me? I'm this handsome lawyer, rich guy. I just don't know how to get people to like me.
How do I get girls?
And so this starts his exploration of how to do that. And of course, he can't leave without murdering somebody. This happened. He's like, well, I got a little bit of information, but I need to really figure out how to make women like me. You know where I'm going to go to explore what love is? A strip club. So he goes to a strip club and starts chatting with the bartender there. Yeah. Of all the things that I don't think director Chris Angel does very well, close-ups. The guy, there's so many fucking close-ups in this movie. They're just like conversations are like just done in close-up only. Like when people are talking, they're very rarely on the same screen together, it seems like.
Yep.
In this case, so he's talking to a bartender about there's this hot stripper on the stage that everyone's all into. She gets out of a coffin to start her thing, and I immediately thought of Veronica.
Which you should all watch.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? Yeah, why not? If you just have to Wishmaster 4, go ahead and give Veronica a spin. It'll make you like Wishmaster 4, I guess. He's starting the bartender like, well, oh my gosh, how do I don't even understand the focus of this conversation. It's kind of like, how do I get women like that to love me? And the guy's like, sex and money. Yeah, you're at a strip club. What did you want the answer to be? But the guy is shot. The bartender is shot in such a tight close up the entire time. And this is a guy with like real bug eyes and like weird features, but we're just right in his face the entire time. And then later, like when the scene ends, there's a shot of him like further away in the bar. Why didn't you shoot any of that? Why was it all just like, why was I in this guy's nostril this entire time?
Right.
Really off-putting and hard to pay attention to what's going on. But then some of the most is perhaps my favorite moment in this entire Wishmaster thing, even though it doesn't actually, you don't see anything. The Wishmaster says,
You find her desirable?
Desirable? Brother, I'd sell my soul just to be a pimple on her ass.
Bingo. And the guy just disappears. He turns someone into an ass pimple. And they don't show it or do anything with that, which is definitely like,
gonna say,
that's a bummer. But like,
a bummer.
It's a bummer.
As the Brits would call it. It's a bummer. It's a right bummer.
It's a right bummer. But like, this is in the wheelhouse of the Wishmaster that I like. Like, this is the kind of Wishmastering I enjoy. Of like, here's just like the dumbest possible thing. Let's go for it. And it's beautiful.
Yeah, I see. I thought it would just be kind of like, an effect similar to Josie Packard getting subsumed into the drawer pull in Twin Peaks. And, instead of the drawer pull, it's a pimple on the butt of the stripper. But no dice.
Or
no
just
luck.
like she'd like dead drop off the down the pole or something like that. Or like drop it like it's hot, like on the ground. You just hear this like, oh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, ouch. And that was it. What ends up happening is that, he just disappears. And we cut back to the shop. The hunter is now on the move, and his first move is to go to the shop and like just tear it up. And I do like the idea that it's not like he's like, no, I'm a force for benevolent good. He's a fucking piece of shit, and he just throws things around looking for this woman and then cuts off the wacky neighbor's head.
I immediately went to like, are we talking about, is this an angel of the Christian Lord?
Yeah.
Because I was thinking like, isn't that a force for good in the world? I mean, supposed to be, but no, goes right to, no. I did love his looking around for a little bit because he's looking for a woman, but he's looking inside boxes in the store. Like, are you into this box? Are you in this display case? Nope, I guess not.
Man, women have changed since I've been around.
Right. Yeah. So he just decapitates the nice old lady in the middle of the store and stalks out. Very quick.
But I mean, like, again, it's a thing where like the concept is interesting of like, oh, well, cool. There's someone after the Djinn. He might save the day. No, he's also terrible. But it was just very silly. Then we get back to the strip club because the Djinn has called Sam there.
Yes.
And is trying to get Sam to wish to spend time with the fire dancing stripper. And Sam's not having it. Sam's like, I don't like you. Sam has already left to go to the strip club once, so that's probably why he's there. But he's like, I don't want anything to do with you. I don't want anything to do with like stuff you like. But this whole time, all the stuff that the Wishmaster is saying to Sam makes it sound like the Wishmaster desperately wants to have sex with Sam.
Would you like to have sex again, Sam? The kind of sex you remember, the kind of sex you can only dream about, because I can make that happen for you.
That's how I was taking it too. Oh my God, yeah.
This could have gone a whole different way, which would have been awesome. But
absolutely. I mean, I don't think Djinns have certain like defined, rigid, sexual interests.
Yeah.
I'd like to believe that thousands of years or I don't know. Trying out a few different things.
Sure, yeah. I mean, you're just trapped in a jewel, the mind wanders. Maybe you're in a feat for like 500 years and you're like, all right, well, I'm done with that now. But it's also another great piece of dialogue where he tells him,
I got a little secret for you. It takes more than 2 good legs to satisfy a woman like Lisa.
Like, the only thing Sam has going for him is that he's bipedal. Like, that's it.
Yes. But I still don't understand, like, Sam's intention. I mean, I guess he does show up just because Steven asked him to.
Yeah.
And he still likes hanging out at the strip club. All well and good.
I think that was the thing. He's like, I don't want to hang out with it's at a strip club. Well, fine.
Yeah, that could be it. Yeah.
Sam's not buying it. Any like either form of what the Djinn is selling, whether sex with the Djinn or sex with the woman. Sam's like, no thanks, gets out of there. And then the Djinn is just staring at the fire dancing woman. You see it's just an excuse for this movie to show boobs, and fine.
Absolutely.
And then the fire dancer like grabs his hand and the Djinn's hand, and the bouncer comes over. And it's like, hey, buddy, that's a good way to lose a hand. Why don't you go sit down? Next drink's on me. And the Djinn is like, how about this drink's on you? Throws a drink at him. He and the bouncer go and have a very they live fight.
That's absolutely what I thought of.
In that it's in an alleyway and it seems to take forever. But it's not nearly as fun. Finally, he does enough. Like, he beats the Djinn up enough, and then he's like, oh, I wish Djinn's trying to goad him into making a wish, and it's not happening. And then he's like, I wish you put up a better fight. Boom. The Djinn pops back up as the Djinn this time in full Djinn form. You've activated my final form, which now like makes him strong somehow. I guess it was the power of the wish. Right. He gives it back to him. Says this is like, the guy goes to punch him. The Djinn catches like, this is and I do like this joke was like, that's a good way to lose your hand. And then like breaks his, and then the guy's down the ground is like, but this is a better way. Burns his hand. And it's It's a crappy effect. It's just some black ash glued to his hands. Nothing that exciting, but I did like that little joke. And then what follows is poetry is the best word I could think of. Because he picks up the bouncer, and I guess you would call it a throw. He throws him at a...
Well, first he impales him.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he impales him on a bar. Yeah. But then
he throws him at like a 50-degree angle, like basically just like straight forward into a dumpster. It's oh man, it's like if you imagine the Boba Fett weird flying from in Return of the Jedi.
Oh yeah,
it's way dumber. And then the Djinn gives a joke about,
now is it Mondays and Wednesdays or Tuesdays and Thursdays?
When I tune into a Wishmaster movie, I want municipal services humor. That's why I love it. I'm a Yimby.
That's what I come for.
I love urbanist Wishmaster. So good. It's great. But again, like going back to the kind of the campiness, I'm for it. This was dumb as shit, and it didn't pretend to be otherwise. And so I'm okay with that.
Not at all. And it wasn't even a good pun. Like I kept trying to think of, better puns in my head, but it was so bad that it made it fun.
Yeah.
It was so bad that it was just like, I don't know. And of course, I keep thinking, could Andrew Divoff sell that line better?
Yes.
Probably.
Yeah.
I would probably like it even more if he did it.
But just like for what just like a non-entity 3 was, it was just refreshing to be like, yeah, be dumber. Absolutely.
Sure. That's true. That's true. The other 3 middle management Djinn appear in the alleyway, and there were like pillar of flames, and just like, hey, are we ready yet? Are we ready to go? Can't do anything about that, but I was just glad to see those guys again.
Yeah, circling back. Is there an update?
Yeah. As per my previous email,
RE Freedom.
I was looking for a firewall joke, but I don't know enough about computers to know if that would work. But
I guess technically that's what's keeping them back there is the firewall.
The firewall. There we go. Yes. The angel tracks down Lisa and wants to kill her before the third wish can be granted. And he's just chasing her on foot while she's driving away in a truck. And it's just, again, it's like what we were saying with part 3. This is an angel of the Lord who can't catch up to a Jeep running through the forest. It looks pretty goofy, and he just is pretty stupid. And she wrecks the truck. So we do get a car crash, gets out, and he just can't manage to catch up to her in the woods until the very end. Again, angel of the Lord.
Angel of the Lord.
Thousands of years old. Just cannot catch up to a woman running through the woods. The Stephen Djinn shows up and fights him and yells about the prophecy being fulfilled. So we have title.
Yes.
As always.
We have title. He shoos her away, and he's like, don't watch me when I'm doing this.
Don't look back.
And they fight, and then Djinn actually kills the guy, which I was like, I thought maybe there'd be like I'll get you. But no, Djinn just straight up ices him. Not for that, but also just, boy, that was a lot of nothing.
I think that this scene only exists so the sword summoning in the final sequence can make sense, because the Djinn summons his own sword to fight against the dork with his Highlander sword. And they just literally sword fight in the woods. And part of me wants to think this is cool, but it's just not.
Yeah.
And it's just 2 guys sword fighting in the woods.
That's what makes it even worse, because you're like, here are these 2 like biblical forces just LARPing in the woods, and it's a
LARPing.
bummer.
Yeah. So Angel gets stabbed through the heart.
Yeah, and apparently like angels bleed pench oil. Yeah, I guess I don't know what, like, it's supposed to be like, well, it's not blood, it's something else, but they just went with like Coca-Cola. It's really good.
Yeah. And he goes up in some sort of blue flame and disappears. Stephen calls Lisa and explains away that the angel was a former client who was off his meds, and he was just randomly showing up to help her.
Yeah.
Fine, whatever.
Using her to get to him, which, all right.
Yeah. Lisa finds a note in her house that Sam is taking off and leaving her, thinking that Stephen is the better match for Lisa, which, of course, this is, The Djinn should have wrote at the bottom of "Love Steven," for as subtle as this is.
Yeah, with crossed out and then Sam written in. Yeah,
right. I suck. Steven actually rules pretty hard. You should go with him. Signed, Steven. I mean Sam.
Also, I'm gay now.
Right. Yeah. So just in time with that, Steven shows up at the door again with a dozen roses and a bottle of wine. This is where I want to see like a supercut edit of Steven just showing up at a door.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Various places like 12, 15.
Yeah.
He's always appearing.
Yeah, and like it would be nice if that played into it more, where if she was actually really getting upset by that, because he is legitimately everywhere she is, and that is upsetting. Because she's never like, oh, good, he's here, but he's always there.
He just goes right in for the kiss immediately, and she's into it, saying that her love was all he's ever wanted. They have sex on the couch, and 4 extra Djinn hands come into frame and start touching her back, very Dr. Manhattan style, and that kind of made me laugh.
And is not bothered by it at all. She totally
does not respond
with gooey hands. Just that's how good the Djinn is, I guess.
Very unlike Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 5 and the extra toys joining the sex scene. Yeah, where he responded to them. Once again, do you love me for who I really am? More kind of incel behavior. And pressures her like crazy to say yes.
Yeah, he really starts laying it on thick.
It's rough.
Yeah, because she's kind of like, well, I'm expecting you to just leave now. And he's like, no, I'm not leaving. I need you to love me so bad.
Yeah. God.
Yeah.
She has a little bit of a post-coital identity crisis and realizes that just like having sex with her lawyer on the couch was a really bad idea just like 5 minutes after she does it. We've all been there, right? Steven admits that he wrote the note and says, I did it for us. The other Djinn show up again, interfering and I guess trying to like kind of force Steven's hand. And I did kind of like this concept a little bit where they're just like, hey, if you're not going to do it, we're going to do everything that we possibly can to interfere now and make this actually happen. We warned you. We're here now.
It's strange because the whole concept is that they're trapped and can't get out, but then they're able to get out.
Yeah.
To just like harass and start doing shit. But at the same time, I do like the idea that like they have this power enough to be like, what's going on, bro? Like, hey, what happened to bros before hoes? We're stuck here. Let's try to get this done. Yep. Yeah. So you get this whole thing where she's in the house now, and they're like attacking her in the house. He's trying to get her to still love him because like she like runs in this room. These hands are like busting through the walls. The Djinns are breaking in between worlds, and he's trying to get her to love him for who he is. He reveals he's like, would you love me if I was actually like a horrible monster? And reveals himself to her. But I do like when he's like trying to promise her things that like flashes to this, like they're standing in a fountain looking at a palace that you don't see. But he's like, this could be yours. Yep. You could stand in a fountain for real. And she's still not buying it. And yeah, he turns into the Djinn and she's really not buying it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is when Sam shows up, right? Yeah. So he shows up and first like wants to just try to shoot the Djinn.
Again.
Yeah. And I like that the Djinn like keeps changing forms, and it's not until he changes into the form of Lisa that Sam's finally able to pull the trigger. Totally. Sam, never stop sucking. Yeah. Just you're like, right. Oh, my romantic rival? Nah, he's fine. Oh, my wife?
Boom, boom, boom.
That'll prove how much I love her.
Shoot my wife, please. Yeah.
Then Djinn's like, that actually doesn't do anything. So Sam finally makes a wish and says, I wish I had a weapon that could kill you. I wish I had the ability to kill you. And the Djinn conjures up the sword, and then Sam can't do it because it's too heavy and powerful.
He's just not a cool enough dude to wield that sword against the Djinn. You got to be the cool like Adrian Paul Highlander guy.
Yeah, he's not nearly wearing enough of a trench coat for that to happen.
Yes.
So the Djinn just stabs him with it. There's back and forth with Lisa.
This is so goofy.
Yeah, it's like he's trying to convince her to seal the deal, tell me that you love me, and Sam like stands up with his back to her. She just shoves the Djinn into Sam's back, stabbing the Djinn. and killing him. Which, by the way, we didn't touch on this, but the Djinn died at the end of the last one. What's going on
Exactly.
here?
Yeah.
Like that's never brought up again. Like why he's back. This is just an Elseworlds, I guess.
I meant to ask you, since I totally missed that point in part 3. I was like, hey, is this the same Djinn as part 3? Or is this, another Djinn that just like looks like him? I don't know.
If it's a different one,
they don't differentiate.
Yeah. If it's a different one, this is some anti-Djinn propaganda of like, well, they all look alike.
Right.
But it's played by the same actor and like his behavior's kind of the same. Yep. So I think it's supposed to be the same guy. It's just inexplicably, somehow the Djinn has returned.
Exactly. Yes. That was the plan all along.
Yeah. They do not care. This is just, let's just get this shot and move on with our lives. So, yeah. And so that's.
But at the end, you do get to see Sam get stabbed twice, which is pretty cool.
That's
if one of them is the Djinn.
Yeah.
But you get kind of like a Sam shish kebab on the sword, and there's 2 guys like stacked up against him. But I thought that she was going to try to like run around the Djinn, pull the blade from Sam's stomach, and then like swing it into the Djinn. But no, it's literally he just stands up and just says like, point right here, shove him this way. That was pretty darn goofy.
Which is so funny
quickly.
That my initial worry with this series was, is this just going to be like them tricking the Djinn into like?
Oh, right. I remember that.
No, it gets way dumber. It went from like, oh, technically, I wish that this never happened to shove. Like, okay.
Yeah.
That's look at all that wish power. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So then the Djinn is taken out this time actually for good, as this is the last one. But then, then Lisa makes it out of the house and looks up at it, remembering that, oh, there were some good times here too. Hooray.
Yeah. And of course, to me, right after the credits start rolling, the scene after that is the cop showing up saying like, "Are you okay, ma'am?" And then it's just like, so what was going on upstairs? And they go find the body of her ex-boyfriend, who was just 2 days ago awarded $10 million with a sword going through his stomach. You're like, oh, who's the prime suspect immediately here?
Look, no, okay.
Look, I have believe this.
I have a solid alibi.
What do you wish for most in the world?
Yeah, we've got the classic Djinn story again. We've heard that before.
Yeah,
that was actually the original Double Indemnity. Was about a Djinn. So this is the way the Djinn ends, not with a bang, but with some of the dumbest fucking shit. So hooray for Wishmaster.
Yeah. 7 body count in this one. I think that's up from 5 last time or so. So let's quickly honor our dead. Stephen, played by Michael Drucko, face torn off. Hollister, played by John Benjamin Martin, tortures himself, shoots himself in the head. Tracy, played by Kimberly Hugh, sexed to death while levitating. Nick, played by Ernesto Griffith, becomes a pimple on the hinder of a dancer. Rick the Bouncer, played by Alex Ponovich, impaled on metal bars, tossed in dumpster. Jennifer, played by Miriam Bernstein, decapitated by an angel. Sam, played by Jason Thompson, stabbed with a magical sword. So yeah, I would say that at least some of these death scenes were a little bit more clever. And I did like watching these a little bit more than part 3. And we can get into all the comparisons next week when we do the wrap up. But I was happy with the majority of these.
Yeah, I thought
they were at least kind of clever.
This has way more life to it than part 3. And like you said, like I wonder how much of part 3 was like, well, keep our powder dry for part 4. Because that's where we're really
my cousin's the president of a university. I think we can shoot another whole movie as we're in pre-production on 4. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's because I wondered about that because with when you see the house and it needs like fixing up at the beginning, I immediately thought of Joe Zito in part 4 where they like built of Friday the 13th where they built the kind of fake house near the other house.
Oh yes.
And it was like, was someone just like, we'll get this like fixer upper. And then turns out that's my house now. Cool.
Totally. Right.
It's like I said, it's a much like smaller story, and it like treats it as that, but it still tries to have some fun with it, which I appreciate, but it's not, it's still not good. But I do like that they did some incredibly stupid stuff and just went for it versus like three's just kind of everyone just running. That was basically all of 3.
Right. A lot of running in that one. Yeah. I mean, it's just watching your 2 male leads just be completely like either pouting or lecherous the entire time. That got a little bit old.
Yeah. It just
after a while.
I think it speaks to, and we'll get into this more in the wrap up, to how absolutely necessary a strong monster is. And if you are going to try to have a personality attached to that monster, not like a Jason, where, you can have different stunt people, whatever, playing him. This thing has never recovered from the lack of Divoff.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's going to do it for Wishmaster 4. We are going to do, like we do all the time, do a little wrap up, kind of a shorter show, probably next week, and talk about the series as a whole. And then we'll be ready to jump right back into our another franchise. Yeah. I guess we might as well just go ahead and announce what we're doing here.
Sure.
Now, because that'll give everybody a little bit of a chance to get a jump start on it. But after we do the wrap up, are going to jump right into the Saw franchise.
Mm-hmm. We're going to see Saw.
Yes. There are 10 of these films.
Does that count like the like Spiral? And
I think so. Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah, I know I've seen pretty much all of them, but it's been years and I don't remember particularly loving them, but who knows, you know how these things go.
Yeah.
But after like a kind of a lower production value series like Wishmaster, I thought it was kind of important to like get into something that had a little bit more audience friendly vibe to it, I think. And I know Saw has its followers, definitely.
It's always been in theaters. There's no real like straight to video thing where this was really, this has been the worst example of like straight to video of what we watched so far.
And we'll get to more.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to more, I'm sure.
Oh boy.
We're just going to come up for air for a little while with Saw, if you can say that.
Yeah. Ooh, we're going to relax with some torture porn. Just stretch out.
Exactly. But until we wrap up, is there anything that you would like to plug to the listeners? Any other shows that you've been on recently?
Just John Knox Hate Stuff, which you can find wherever you get podcasts. If you want to hear me honk on about different other movies, not just of the horror variety.
Yeah. Last couple were Vanilla Sky and Paprika.
Yeah, we just did a whole thing about dreams
in the last week.
We're done with those now, and now up next we're going to be talking about The Menu, which I haven't seen yet. So that's sort of horror, I guess. But yeah, I've heard mixed things, actually. But I like everyone involved with it, so I'm excited to check it out.
And if you like horror narrative shows or just short horror stories, please check out Please Leave podcast for all your spooky story needs. We update that once a week. So check out those shows that both John and I are on. And while you wait up for our final thoughts on Wishmaster next week, and fire up those Blu-ray players for the Saw franchise over the next 2 weeks, so you can be all caught up and ready for some grisly torture.
Yeah.
So we will see you next week.
All right. Good night.
Good night. This has been a Two Penguins Media production. It was produced by James Strayer and edited by John C. Myers. Logo by Ethan Kimberling and music by Michael Arthur Holloway, who you can find on Bandcamp. Follow us on Instagram at This May Hurt a Bit Pod and on Twitter at Hurt a Bit. Email us at thismayhurtabit@gmail.com. And if you are so inclined, rate and review us on your favorite podcast app, and we'll see you next time.